Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Friday, the 3rd of July, comes to you from London. And of course, it's Independence Day in the US tomorrow, and a public holiday in the US today. So we expect markets to be fairly subdued and quiet with the US closed. So the dollar index is still below the cloud. It has actually just jumped a bit yesterday, but we are just slightly in short-term and medium-term bearish territory. Long-term still bullish, and that means that the euro is actually just looking stronger against that weaker dollar over the last few days. But again, we come back. So we are at a bit range-bound the last few weeks on euro dollar. Yen, not much change here, sitting at the 107 level again. Range bound, really just waiting for the big move. So a move above 110 would be bullish for the dollar. A move below would be bearish, so we just need to watch that, but it seems a way off yet. Sterling is a bit down this morning, but it has improved against the dollar over the last few days with that weaker dollar, and against the euro we're sitting at 110.77. We were below that critical 110 level. Sterling has just gradually been inclining against the euro there. Looking at Bitcoin, no change here either, really, sitting around the $9,000 level. The S&P 500 index closed up just under 0.5% yesterday, putting us back into short-term bullish territory. So we're still pushing forward, despite the news flow on coronavirus. The markets are still pushing higher. The Nasdaq making new highs as well, and interestingly, the relative on the Nasdaq is it's really amazing in that we're hitting new all-time highs relative to the S&P, breaking to new highs there. And quite interestingly, this leg up here is quite similar to this leg here. This is a log scale chart. If I turn this to an arithmetic, you can see this similar sort of leg up here where we were moving and went into another gear, similar as we saw in 1999. So the Nasdaq, whilst it looks toppy, could do something very similar. It's too hard to say really, but it's just interesting looking back at the historical. So the Dow was up 1/3% as well. So that was also just pushing higher. The futures will be closed, of course, but we see here the little change there. The UK market pretty flat this morning, and Europe also fairly flat. We're seeing here the DAX is only up just under 0.2%. The CAC current little changed. We don't expect much action today for the end of the week, given that the US is closed. The Hang Seng was up a further 1%, so it's brushing away its fears of what's going on with the Chinese rule, and we're seeing also the the Chinese Shanghai index really jumping higher. That's really interesting. We've negated a downside target here. We will get a new upside target. We still do have these long-term targets hanging over us, but Chinese stocks starting to look pretty good. And the Sensex in India was up 0.5%, and the Aussie market also up 0.4%, so pushing higher there. Gold sitting at 1776, so we're just pausing around this level at the moment. Little change, but we have activated that upside target to 1820. So don't be surprised to see gold breaking through the 1800 level in the coming days and weeks. Silver also holding on to bullish on all three time frames. US 10-year yields sitting steady at 0.67%. Last night we just did see new all-time highs from Amazon. That chart just looking stellar, and Microsoft. So we are again just seeing new all-time highs there. So again, looking very bullish. In terms of the energy mix, we've got Brent crude down slightly this morning, down 1%, but the targets on that very short-term chart are still in train, and we're holding the bull trend bullish here. Interesting that we're seeing crude just rolling over. Is this a consolidation before we kick up, or will we roll over and just make a top? Well, it's too hard to say at the moment, but for the short term, it is bullish at the moment. WTI similarly down, of course, but we have a mix of targets here. For the moment, the upside one's dominating. US nat gas has actually held on this week after the roll, where we did see new lows below that 150 mark. But it's really quite key that this chart is still struggling to recover, so that's quite key. We do have targets here, unexciting targets to 175, just another 1% up. Coal, we posted yesterday on LinkedIn that we were seeing new trend here in coal. We've broken into bullish trend territory, so that's pretty good. And emissions today, we are seeing down 1.4%. So they've had an amazing run. There's no big surprise that we're falling back to support here. Watch the 1 minute price action for any moves there as well. MBP is down 4% today, so quite a lot of movement there. But the trend is still holding on to bullish, and we are making this transition. But we do have these downside targets hanging over us at the moment on the short-term chart. And TTF just still can't get above that €6 mark, sitting there waiting to break new highs. We need to get really now above that 625 mark and hold it. And if we look at German power, that's down this morning just under 1%. We do have some downside targets here back below 40, so don't be surprised to see that pullback. But for the moment, we're in bullish trend on both the medium and short-term charts. That's it for today. Until Monday, have a great weekend. Happy charting. See you then.